you trying to get crazy with this scene? Don't you know I'm loco?
They said, no, we're building a highway patrol substation here. And that's when the call went out. You know, they like to refer to him as the Paul Revere of Chicano Park. So he went around, went to the Metras, and just started getting community members. And before they knew it, they had a large crowd of people there, you know, occupying the space. The occupation lasted 12 days. And on the day of the takeover is when the Chicano Park Steering Committee was born. You know, that's the group that decided to negotiate and take on the negotiations with the city in order to make it the park that it is today. You know, so when people refer to it as a city park, or they say that it was given to the community, that's false. The community took it, and they still have ownership 51 years later.
What's happening, everybody? This is Bobby Ruiz, aka Bobby Tribal, and once again, we got another episode of Lower Left Podcast coming at you. Me and my boy Johnny Be Good.
What's up, everyone?
Today we have two local dudes who I've got to know and have respect for. Hector Villegas is a muralist, Chicano activist, and just an all-around cool dude. Lucas Cruz, I just met today, but he also has a real interesting story and background in relations to the Chicano movement, Chicano Park, and both these dudes have seen a lot that's happening locally in Barrio Logan. So, welcome, both of you, and thanks for being here and taking the time. And I first of all, I appreciate all your commitment to Chicano Park, Barrio Logan, and Chicanismo in general, and being here today. So why don't we start off? Let's start with Hector first, telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you are connected to Chicano Park.
Okay, well, thank you for having me here, Johnny and Bobby, and thanks for Lucas for being here as well. Well, my family's from Nayarit. My mom's from Nayarit. My dad's from Jalisco, and they made the trek to Tijuana. My aunt, she was the first one that came out here over 50 years ago to San Diego, and probably around 60 years ago. And then later, had my mom come down. So from Nayarit, from Jalisco, I'm the only one born here in the U.S. from my three sisters and one brother. So I just remember crossing a lot, going back and forth to the border with familia over there, but always living in Logan. So we've been in Logan I'm 40, gonna be 44 in May, man. So my family's from Nayarit and Jalisco, and that's how we ended up over here in the barrio.
And you grew up in Logan?
Yeah, right here on National, 1800 block or 1700 block of National when I was born, and then a couple months later ended up on the 2100 block of Newton, and that's right around the corner from the park. So just always the park was my playground.
Still is, huh?
Yeah, still. It's just seeing it growing up already. Born in '77 and a few years before the takeover. And so when I was a little kid and was able to notice, there was art and activity and festivities and lowriders and cruising, breakdancing and all that.
Yeah. And later on, we'll get to that. You've had the opportunity to work on and paint multiple murals in the park, as well as I know you're working on a project now too. And so what about you, Lucas?
Me? I actually wasn't raised in Logan, but I was always in Logan my whole life. My grandmother, her name is Tomasa Camarillo. She's been the longest serving chairwoman of the Chicano Park Steering Committee. Right? Yep, Tommy. So, being born, I was raised in East Side, so City Heights. She'd always bring me to the park. I've been in the park before I could even remember. And actually, my mother was there during the takeover, too. She was 2 years old. So we've always had this connection with the park in Barrio Logan my whole life. A lot of people think I live in Logan. I don't. I live in City Heights. Now I live in Shelltown. But I've always had that strong connection thanks to my grandmother.
And Chicano Park, to me, I look at it as it's in Logan, but it's San Diego, man. That's the heart, and people call it also the heart of Aztlan, and just being that doesn't really matter. Like it is Chicano Park, and being that. So your mom was there.
Yeah,
when she was 2 years old during the takeover. So how about, can you give, and us sitting here, we've heard the history. Would you mind giving us the listener a history of Chicano Park, how the takeover went down and what it represents and how Chicano Park came to be?
Yeah, so Chicano Park, the way it came about was, the community was fed up. The community was fed up with everything that's been going on in that area, whether it was with the state or the city. Before, the area was predominantly Mexicano. There was blacks, there was Asians in the area, and that wasn't through choice, it was through design. There's a lot of housing covenants in the area that restricted where black and brown people can actually buy property. So a lot of them relocated in that area. And there's also an influx of Mexicanos that came from the Mexican Revolution. So that's how that area became that. And with that being the population, the city and state didn't care what they did there. So when they started, I can't remember the exact construction of the freeway, but they constructed a freeway in the area, which removed a lot of houses, and that was through eminent domain.
That was the 5, right?
The 5, Interstate 5, as well as the Coronado Bridge later. And with the community, a lot of people losing, getting displaced, they were fed up, and they wanted a park in the community so they can be able to enjoy it with their families. So they had an agreement that the park would be built, but on April 22nd, 1970, when there was bulldozers found on the actual site, Mario Solis, a brown beret, he seen what was going on and asked them, like, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you building up the park? They said, no, we're building a highway patrol substation here. And that's when the call went out. They like to refer to him as the Paul Revere of Chicano Park. So he went around, went to the Mechas, and just started getting community members. And before they knew it, they had a large crowd of people there, occupying the space. The occupation lasted 12 days. And on the day of the takeover is when the Chicano Park Steering Committee was born. That's the group that decided to negotiate and take on the negotiations with the city in order to make it the park that it is today. So when people refer to it as a city park, or they say that it was given to the community, that's false. The community took it, and they still have ownership 51 years later.
So that was in 1970.
In 1970, we're celebrating our 51st anniversary on April 22nd this year.
So you've pretty much been there your whole life, and both you dudes have pretty much have seen it your whole lives, and you've been there at the park your whole lives, and that's a blessing. And what type of we've all seen it. The park has become, a national monument. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, a National Historic Landmark, but that was through the work of Josie Talamantes and I can't remember, Memo. They both actually spent years, like Josie herself spent 14 years of her life convincing the community, because we don't
amazing woman.
Yeah, we shout out to her, but we never want to just take anything at face value. When we look into this agreement, it's like, what does that mean for us? What does that mean in terms of ownership if we become a National Historic Landmark? Is it protected and they can take ownership of it? Where is our role? So that's where the 14 years, why it took so long as well. We had to come to an agreement, understand what our role would be. And, of course, it's stewards. We're never going to lose that.
So they wanted to do it earlier, but it was kind of agreement that the Chicano Park Steering Committee needed to look at all the, what that agreement meant.
Yeah, it was more so convincing, to make sure that it was the right move. And now as we see all this development in Barrio Logan, with this National Historic Landmark status, the park can't be touched at all or changed. So, that foresight that Josie have, I always give her credit for it.
Yeah.
But it's just getting the community on board who's always been screwed over by the state, city, government, whatever it may be.
So what does that do for the park? We kind of touched on briefly a discussion prior to the podcast, but what does it mean to be recognized as a National Historic Landmark?
So the basis of it is because of the historic value of it, it can't be changed or altered. What it's supposed to also be is supposed to be respected as such. But of course, here locally, it is to the community members, but the city doesn't reflect it as that. You look at Balboa Park versus Chicano Park, one has grass, one has dirt. The maintenance is primarily the community. We have Parks and Rec guys that drive around, and they're literally running the lawnmower over dirt just to get their money. Just to say they did run the lawnmower. The National Historic Landmark is supposed to have that prestige because it's supposed to be recognized by this government in a way of like its historic value. But of course, being Chicano, it's not. So that's why we ourselves, the community, pride ourselves in the work that we do, because we try to do the upkeep. We make everything. Hector, I got to give it to him too. He takes his time. If there's a mural that gets vandalized, which is rare, but if it does happen, he's there to go clean it up. Him and other artists, they spend their own money, they take their own time, and they go and they clean it up. It's not the government, not the city, none of that.
Wow. So how do you, I mean, yeah, like you said, you compare it. So does Balboa Park have the same status as Chicano Park?
I believe they're a historic landmark as well. And, they have that history there, but their history is a little different.
But the funding, I mean, in regards to funding and keeping up the park, and like you're saying, like these dudes are mowing dirt, because there's parts of the park that are definitely dirt, when they should probably be grass. So do you feel that it's maybe being neglected by the city for whatever reason?
Yeah, well, I don't feel I know. Like we look at the funding in these park development plans, and they primarily target Balboa Park because that's their tourist attraction in their eyes. Chicano Park, we have international visitors. I mean, I know one year we had a car show where we had Japanese cars come in.
Yeah.
And they pride themselves in being able to come to Chicano Park.
Everybody does.
Yeah, but it's just that lack of respect that we've always had with the city, and I think it just stems from how the park was born. They don't like the fact that they lost. It is what it is. We took the park over, and now it's ours, and they don't want to give it the proper funding. I mean, even recently, just a recent example is right now they're looking at their parks plan for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. We were notified the day before it was due to give our ideas and our submissions of what we think we should see in the park. It's those little things like that where they know we're here. They know our contact information. We've had the same email for multiple years, same mailing address, and still they don't contact us in that way to let us know that these things are going on that's going to affect the next 10 years.
Why do you think that is?
Just because we're Chicanos, because it's our neighborhood. I mean, it's the same way why they were destroying our houses in the first place. It's the same reason why our community doesn't have an updated community plan. They don't care. They want us out of there because then they can develop it more and bring in downtown.
Yeah.
Make it more of the tourist attraction hotspot.
But it's protected, and that can never happen now.
The
right?
park. Not the community.
Right.
The community people are working on it. Like Hector, he's on the planning group. Other members of the planning group, other community activists, they're all pushing for the plan. But right now, that's not solid either.
So are you able to, being a part of the Chicano Park Steering Committee, do you also have your feelers out, or does that kind of branch into the entire barrio? Like, does your discussion go beyond just the park and about Barrio Logan?
You mean like in regards of like Asan?
No. I mean in regards to like what's happening in regards to the change, the development.
We do have a representative of the steering committee on the Barrio Logan planning group.
There you go.
They do have say in what happens around the community.
And how do you feel that's going now? Like, what is your? And both you guys can answer this separately because I know it's a kind of a heavy question. Is what do you feel about the direction that Barrio Logan's going in regards to all the changes, the development, the new businesses, gentrification, if you will, and all the attention that it's getting from the entire community, and feel free to like whatever you guys, what do you feel about that?
Well, it's a touchy subject. Well, I live in the neighborhood, and
you've been there your whole life.
We're lucky to be property owners. That I can say that. We don't live in the healthiest environment in terms of air quality in the whole state. So the neighborhood has poor air quality,
and that comes from mostly the shipyards.
We do have the freeway and the bridge, but bridges and freeways go through many communities and they don't have the same problem. So that's my argument to that. There's pollution coming from the ship industry for sure. Mm-hmm. Everything along the bay. And also what a lot of people don't know, that this is Dole, the company, all the Dole, everything Dole comes through here in the spread. Here, this is the west.
This is where it's received for the entire distribution of the West Coast.
Distribution everywhere.
Or the western part of the country.
Yes. And so Dole comes through here with the big ships, and there's a lot of pollution that gets brought into that. So there's a lot of changes that are happening on 10th Street Terminal in terms of not having trucks idle there, having them hooked up to different systems that make them electrical or green. There's different stuff that they're changing, but for many, many years, this is where I'm at with that. And I'll get into the environmental part because the neighborhood is changing. not only in demographics, but also it is getting cleaner. It is getting better. It is going to be a better place. But Chicanos ain't going to be able to enjoy that because there ain't going to be enough Chicanos to be able to live in a nice community, the community we've been asking for years. So I think it is heading in a direction like that. There is very few people that are going to be able to stay. But what a lot of people don't know that are moving in is that you're moving into a real, not a very healthy environment, and they're thinking they're getting a real good deal on the house and all this kinds of stuff. The thing that Lucas mentioned is that Chicanos, we were only able to live in that, or Mexicanos only able to live in a certain mile, in a certain radius, which is Logan Heights. Now that for many years people have created, and it's not just you live there, it's a culture. There's a culture now of people. That's what some people were saying is like, you're kicking me out of my culture. And that's kind of, we've created that here in the community. Even the name, just Logan, ain't even English anymore. The thing is Chicano, it's a Chicano name, So there's, we've actually taken, communities to actually, for many years, taking leadership and trying to make a real bad place a beautiful place. And it stems out from Chicano Park and all over.
I mean, I think you guys are doing okay with that.
Yeah. So like for me growing up there and now having people moving in and then kind of fording up, putting, big Ford cameras and then American flag, up, people coming in and kind of looking at you weird, not saying hi, calling the police on you, calling the police on the drums at Chicano Park. Danza that's been there doing danza there for years, man, years. So there's all these people that are moving in for all the wrong reasons, and I see it. A lot of businesses are moving in, taking advantage of these empty warehouses, of the spaces, and doing some other things. There's a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of people that are moving in, and they're coming in a good way, and they want to live in the neighborhood. But what I do see is if the park wasn't there, which that's the anchor, downtown would have gobbled us up a long time ago. There wouldn't be no Logan Heights. If that takeover wouldn't have happened, the neighborhood would have been nothing. Now.
I agree. Yeah,
nothing.
You're right.
So yeah, there is people moving in, and they're taking advantage of the low cost of slumlords, letting people live in really bad homes for a long time, letting them run down. And then, so now they're coming in and now they're selling all this stuff. We have a lot of good people in the neighborhood that are gentrifying the neighborhood too. Like, and let me just put it out there, but Logan Heights Family Health Center, the clinic, is probably one of the companies that buys more property in the neighborhood and knocks down homes to build a parking lot or a building. So there is a lot of families that are still in Logan, but they're moving in to rooms. So instead of being able to have their own home, now they're sharing, 2-3 families are sharing a pad because they still want to live in the neighborhood, but now they can't afford their own home. So there is all these changes, all these things, from not being able to afford the house or just houses being run down, and then, slumlords coming, we're going to change it, we're going to fix it, and then they sell it, and then it's,
Can you pinpoint like a time or a moment or like a catalyst, something that created this change, or it's like where it took that turn?
Well, I remember when the Mercado apartments were the first affordable housing in the community, and then there was going to be other stuff happening in the community. That took over a pretty big piece of property, and that allowed a lot of raza to stay here. Later on, there was other projects, but it was around the time that I noticed that they were trying to change the community was in the 90s. And then that's when the gang injunction came in. The city wanted to clean up the barrio, so they would bring people to invest in the barrio. So that happened. That's when I noticed when the community actually did change, flipped, and brought the money, the investors, and then nobody wanted to, where Northgate's at?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to come there for years. That property was empty for years.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to come. The apartments, nobody wanted to come because it was still dangerous.
So was that lot across the street from Chewy's?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah,
all that lot, everything that's that's the city college building right there. But that's when the stuff started to change. It was in the 90s. When they brought the gang injunction, they started arresting everybody in the neighborhood, started cleaning up the neighborhood because they wanted to bring investors. That's when I started to see other people moving into the neighborhood and actually the demographics changing. It was around that time.
So what about, and here's another tough question. So somebody who's a property owner, let's say, for example, and we all know that the prices of real estate have probably quadrupled or gone up 5 times of what maybe somebody paid for it 20 years ago, or at least 5 times probably 20 years ago, right? Or even more so. And somebody comes in, and because a lot of these smaller homes are like $800,000 to $900,000 for a little pad. And the temptation that these people are having, people coming up to them and go, hey, you know what? I like your property. It's got this, like that. I'd like to pay you X amount, whatever that large amount is, for your property. And these people, maybe it could possibly get them out of debt. It could send their kids to school. It could, maybe bring their family.
People have done that. They want to come back.
Yeah, then they can't because they can't buy their pad back. So it's a real tough decision. It's a really, really tough decision because in their head they're going like, man, these people want to give me this for my pad. Well, you know what? I like it here. There's a lot of people that say no, rightfully so, right?
Yeah, and then when you make it too, you want to leave the hood. Sometimes that happens too.
Yeah, or they want to go to, someplace else, or I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna move to Golden Hills, or wherever they decide to. So it's a difficult situation because some of them it may be, monetarily, it could possibly be. Well, you know what? I'm gonna get my family out of debt. I'm gonna send Junior to college. I'm gonna help my parents or my grandparents to make sure that they get the proper health care. So there's that element of it that could potentially be a positive, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it helped out a lot of people, but it did affect the community, and a lot of people do want to come back, but they can't afford it. And you hit it right. They're too expensive. But just living in the neighborhood, for me, like I'm having dinner at my house, and I truly feel sometimes that I live in like the modern day Tenochtitlan, because I'm just like all the you got the kiosco, which is the Templo Mayor over there, and you got I'm having dinner and I hear the drums, like I go by and then I see the cars, I come, go by over there, and then I see the palette, I see all this activity.
See, you're an artist, Hector. Yeah. Your mind is, you see the beauty in it, and you're appreciing the sights and the sounds and
the murales and the artwork. Todo.
Yeah. So, and that's you're an artist, and you recognize these things and you appreciate these things, and which is, it's a beautiful thing, and I could see, people would want to go back to that. And then there's people, let's say that maybe they're Chicanos. Maybe there's, like, fuck, I'd love to buy a pad in Logan Heights, and live right there, like what you're saying, and be able to hear that and live right there. But how do you feel, and let's ask Lucas this, how do you feel it's changed, and how did that affect your lifestyle or your vision, or the community in general? Like there's been fucking shitload of change down there, and we both know from what I see, there's some shit that shouldn't be happening, like some change that doesn't look cool, but then there's some change that for a person like me, it looks cool. Depending on the business, depending on who owns the business. Like you said, there's obviously issues that you brought up, Hector, that I wouldn't necessarily have taken great notice to, is the air quality. And you're right, because you are right on the bay, and Dole does go in there, and you are right under the bridge and the freeway, and there's NASCO, and there's Dole, and there's all these other industrial businesses down there that who knows what they're doing. When you go closer, going towards NASCO, there's all kinds of businesses even places where you can go throw trash right there.
Yeah, the auto shops and the recycle centers. Everything.
Right. So what would you guys like to see down there? Like what is your ideal, let's say, ideal barrio?
Well, I do want to touch on the question that you asked earlier.
Okay.
About the question of, is it a positive thing for them to get out of? Yeah, of course it is,
Yeah.
But the larger issue at hand is, why are they in that position where they have to sell their home in order to have that better life? Mm-hmm. That's the issue that I get stuck with and I get frustrated with. And a lot of it, I feel like, is our failure, as Chicanos. Like, the movement had its peak, and then now we have to build it back up. So they're educated in that sense of what that means if you're selling your home. Us taking care of each other and looking at that larger issue of employment. Why aren't you having a sustainable job? Why aren't your kids having access to good education so they can maintain that house, so you don't have to sell it, so they can actually earn those scholarships? That lack of education that we're not doing in the barrios. There people they're doing it. I'm not going to say it's not happening, but we have to be looking at it and changing our mindset in that way, because that's not, this whole like greed of money and all these things. It's not natural for us. We're a humble people. We're happy to have what we have, but of course, when an opportunity comes, we'll take it. But my concern is that we need to get out there. We need to start putting that plan in action, espiritu del plan de Aslan, and just
very
building that
well
Chicano
said,
nationalism.
dude. Very well said, Lucas. Very well said.
Yeah, and when you're you're in an underserved community, sometimes you kind of underserve even yourself and what you do and the outlook that you have. Like, you feel like you have no way of, and that's, we need to be more empowered.
It's interesting because we had a COVID vaccine event at the park.
Yeah.
And when we look at that humbleness and like what we're allowed to have, there's this sense of entitlement that a lot of white people have. That when they go to the doctors, they order the doctor, like, I need you to do this scan. I need you to do this. I need you to check my blood. They'll tell them, oh, you don't need it. No, I want you to do it. And they'll get it.
Yeah.
We go, our people, they're just thankful to go to the doctor. You know what I mean? We're thankful to be able to go to a clinic. We're thankful to get the test. And if they say that we don't need it, we'll go, okay, well, you're the doctor. And with the vaccine event that we had, I got to give it up to the Brown Beret National Organization and then Chicano Park Steering Committee. We worked together. We vaccinated 304 community members, and we were there at Northgate. We were there where the people are at, asking them, do you want to get a vaccine? Mm-hmm. And the excitement in their faces that someone's offering them a vaccine that they didn't even know they had access to. They don't know the tiers. They don't know that if you work in these industries, you can get it. They don't know. They're busy working. They're busy trying to survive. And to have that opportunity and to show them that, at Chicano Park, you come first. At Chicano Park, you're going to get your vaccine because you're in Logan. To try to bring that, I think that's interesting when you brought that up, just that sense of, like, we just are happy to get what we can, like with our education. Myself and Eastside, like, I went to Hoover, and I had a 3.5, 4.0. Man, I thought I was smart, I go to Helix, we have a competition with them, and I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, they're all talking about political theory, they're talking about this and that. We're covering the basics, because they're trying to just get us through the standards. And that A in our community means an A somewhere else. But that's where we got to step in, and just make sure that we're all on track.
Yeah, we touched on that last week with Angel, where he's going to school to become a registered dietitian to go back to his community of Santa Ana to teach people like us how to eat nutritious, how to have a healthy lifestyle, because nobody taught us that, right? We just eat rice and beans and tortillas and keep going.
Man. Food and financial literacy.
And we touched on the financial aspect of it.
Yeah, those are the things we don't learn, man. We're happy to get the standards, but we're not getting what gets us through life. Credit. People get bad credit easy, because you get that credit card. No one teaches you what appreciation and making sure you don't have interest, but you just start sliding, because you're just happy to have it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I hate that word, underserved. We've always been underserved. And the moment that we speak up, that we stand up for ourselves, they're like, you're complaining, you all guys with your marches, you guys with your gatherings, with your signs, with your protests. I was like, we try to talk to you guys, but shit, you guys ain't listening.
So this is what it's going to take.
And it always takes that. It's always the same thing, man. And we want to do other things, too. We don't want to spend our whole time strategizing and meeting just for them to listen to us. And so that happens a lot. We spend a lot of time, different people in the community, having all these meetings to stand up for ourselves just for these things instead of just trying to build our community in a different way. It's just,
I think that I'm really happy you guys are saying the things that you're saying, and thanks again for being here and speaking. I think there's a lot of people, and, you know, like I said, I started going to Chicano Park around 1974, 1975. I was probably 12 years old, 13 years old, something like that. And I've seen the growth and I've seen the changes. Chicano Park Days have been going, you know, first time I showed a car there, I think was 82. And, you know, just Chicano Park. It was all Chicano Park. And there's been so much change, especially in regards to Chicano Park Day. And we've all seen the numbers of people that come through the park and the types of people and which I think it's a beautiful thing, you know, but I find myself sometimes and, you know, growing up and I knew that the stuff that I was into, the Chicano stuff, the lowriders and the way we dressed and the letters and the, you know, I mean, the graffiti and, you know, the music and everything we did, it was the coolest shit. In my eyes, in a lot of people's, we had the coolest shit. And now we're starting to get recognized by other ethnicities or people from other countries going like, fuck, this Chicano stuff's really cool, you know, and they're coming down and they're looking at it and they're tripping out on the murals and the cars and the food and they're feeling it. They like it. They're, but I find myself sometimes going, well, wait. No, but this is still our shit. This is kind of, it belongs to us. So I guess where I'm going with this is a lot of people don't know the struggles of the park that you guys see, that the people that you work with see, what you're fighting for, what you've had to do to make not just Chicano Park Day, but to make Chicano Park and the surrounding community approachable and friendly and inviting, you know, like, you know, we can go probably drive by the park any day. Well, not now during COVID, but when COVID was gone, I would drive by to go have lunch, you know, go get a coffee at Por Vida or go to Salud or go wherever in Barrio Logan and there's tour buses and there's kids and, you know, Victor's out there, you know, teaching kids or somebody's, you know, how do you feel about that? Like just all that attention and, you know, I think, or I don't know how important it is for people to understand what it took to bring it to where it is for these people to come and enjoy it and, you know, trip out on it or whatever you want to, it's Chicano Park Day or Chicano Park any day. You know what I mean? Yeah. What do you think about that? Like that type of attention, that type of, you know, just where it's come, where it's, you know, tour buses at Chicano Park. Who would have thought?
Yeah, it's a trip, man. You know, and it's one of those things where it's great in the sense that we have a chance to educate, you know, and I know with the tours, like you brought up Victor, Chicano Park Steering Committee, we do those free. And the point is to make sure that people understand the history of the park and why it needs to be respected, why our cultura needs to be respected, that it's not something that you can just come across. We have issues. I'll be honest, like these people, I don't know what it's like San Diego TripAdvisor, whatever it may be, but we have people coming and they're just treating Chicano Park as if it's just a nice park with pretty pictures on the walls. You know, they're just bringing these people in with their headsets and they do their little tours and they get paid off of it. We don't ever ask for money because our whole goal is the educational piece. If you want to donate, that's great. But our whole point is just educating you about the struggles of the park so you know exactly what's going down. So the good thing is it does build real support in a real way where people know that, yeah, this park is great. I want to support, but it's not necessarily my fight, but I can support in different ways. You know, because we have to also, again, this is Chicano Park. It's for the Chicanos of Barrio Logan and, you know, throughout Aslan. So we have to make sure that we're at the forefront of what we want for the park. If you want to support, that's great. If we can build that base through education, that's great. But us as Chicanos, we have the right to self-determination to decide what our park goes. And that's the importance of educating. You know, we're addressing that with the museum now.
Yeah, that's what I was
going to be great. You know, ChicanoParkMuseum.org. If you want to donate, you can go on the website and check it out. We are in the building now. But we're in the building. We're just fundraising for the floors. We're trying to get those done. Once that's completed, we'll have an opening. Can't give a date quite yet, but we're working on it for sure. And it's beautiful to see us back in the building. We were in it before. And then now,
what are going to be so tell us a little bit about the Chicano Park Museum and hopefully these tours that come through and these people, these tour companies that are coming through, they're going to push the people through or show them the museum and here you go into the museum and donate and get educated. And that's, I guess, part of what I was saying earlier, how important it is for these people to understand what it took not just to have Chicano Park, but the continued struggles or challenges that it takes to maintain it.
Yeah, the museum, I think what's great about it is it's not just necessarily the park too. It also looks at the struggles of the Chicano community. So one of the events that we did early on was the Bracero Encuentro, where we highlighted the Bracero. We had an opportunity for people to come and share their family stories and the stories of the conditions that these Braceros face. You know, a lot of our gente now, they're growing up and they're like third, maybe second generation. They come from the Braceros. And to have that opportunity to encapsulate that history in a real way was beautiful. So we're trying to do it in multiple ways, whether it's highlighting that, it's highlighting other issues like the canneries that were here once, that were a big employment opportunity for people, you know, capturing the stories of people that lived in this community before all these changes developed. And with the park itself, it's important because we have Tommy Camarillo's, her archives. And her archives document everything that's happening.
AKA your grandma.
Yeah, my grandmother. I always call her Tommy because when Chicano Park, one thing I do want to say, it's not a family thing. It's not like when we talk park, it's business. We're here for a goal. So when she's there, if I'm wrong, she gets at me and tells me to shut up. You know, but if I'm right, she'll back me up. But, you know, with that, when we're in the park, she's the chairwoman, the capitana.
Yeah.
You know, but with the park itself, it highlights everything because everything was fought for. You know, from the kiosco, that took 7 years to get developed. You know, they wanted it to be a Spanish-style stage, and they didn't understand, no, the community designed this. The community wants it this way. And with the steering committee, you know, pushing for that 7 years to have that created in our image for our people, you know, that's the history that's not there. The bathroom, something simple as that. The bathroom performance, the playgrounds. Like, these things take forever. The playgrounds, we had to, like, keep fighting for the sand to get replaced because of the glass that would be under there and the condition the playgrounds were in. I mean, they had this cheap metal on the playgrounds where if a kid slid in the summer, man, they'd be burning their skin off.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I just want to interrupt, Luke, but they also wanted to put a pirate-themed playground.
Yeah.
And it took us, we were like, that shit ain't
So
gonna
who
fit
are
here.
they? The city of San Diego?
Yeah, the
They
city,
hired a company.
Parks and Rec or what?
City of San Diego, Parks and Rec. So Parks and Recs, they're the ones that'll come and they'll have their designs preset, but the committee never accepts that. You know, and that's why you look at the playground.
imagine having a pirate theme
But it's
in
a
the park.
good thing that you guys have the committee.
Yes.
So you guys
Yeah.
are in there telling them, you know what? No, that's not going to work.
It's
Yeah.
not gonna work.
And that's the thing, because the committee, they're the ones that designed the playgrounds. That's why you go to the playground, you'll see the kiosco motif on the
Yeah.
top of the slide. You know, even
Yeah.
with the bathrooms, you'll see it on top. You know, that's the kiosco is the heart of the park, and that's why that's the theme throughout the park. You'll see it on some of the walkways. You see it on the playground, you know, the bathrooms.
Yeah. And then there's also a real cool skate park,
Yeah.
which has gotten
Yeah.
a lot of attention
Yeah,
too.
that-
skate
man.
park. I know Hector's real involved with the skate park too.
Yeah, so the skate park, youth were skating there for a while already.
Yeah, people always skated right there.
And because it's just already like a cool urban setup. But then some monies came in because a lot of new housing apartments were going to be built in the community. And that's where some of those monies came in to help build a new playground, to put in some new walkway, because we were going to have a new number of people moving into the hood. In these new apartments. So money comes from the state to add recreational stuff in the community, and that's where we got some of that money put in to fix up the skate area. So yeah, the steering committee decided, hey, you know what, we're going to do this for the kids, we're going to do this for the youth, and decided to use a portion of the money for that. And every year, for the past, I guess, 4 years, there was a celebration there to celebrate having that for the kids there, and it's cool, man. It's a cool little spot.
You would do the celebration.
Yeah,
Hector organizes these celebrations.
Yeah, the steering committee proposed it, and they're like, yeah, man, go for it. And so they were happy that it was for the kids and for the youth. So I'm really happy.
And there are some cool improvements going on there. I've seen some of the murals being redone, and over the past several years, a lot of new work. And then also, Hector, you're working on a new piece there. How many murals have you worked on there, and which one are you currently working on?
Well, I'm currently working on the bathroom. In the bathroom, it's a Jaguar inspired piece. Yeah, on the outside facing National Avenue. But it's a Dia de los Muertos type inspired piece, and I think it's kind of like feeding for all the stuff that's been happening right now. And one of the things that happens is when you go to Mictlán, and you're going to cross into the spirit world, you have some jaguars that greet you, and they give you this jade, te lo ponen en la boca. And that's where Mictlan receives when you go into the spirit world. There's different stories, but the jaguares are one of the gatekeepers there. So that's why there's one of the warrior societies. So, it's something this talks about when people cross over. And recently we've had a lot of people with COVID and a lot of people with some violence and stuff like that. And the steering committee, I presented it probably over 3 years ago or something like that.
3-4 years ago.
So right now there's active, besides myself on the restrooms on the outside, there's Patricia and Aguayo and Mex that did one as well, that painted their own murals as well, along with other community members. But there's also that Anastasio one that was painted. But recently, there's
Amigos did that mural last year.
And
before.
then also there's this other Kumeyaay Princess one that's there as well.
Yeah, and then the Kumeyaay creation story.
Oh, that one.
No,
Johnny's
Kumeyaay Princess gone too soon.
Oh, the creation story. There you go.
Story that Carmen
so
did.
there's probably 8 murals if we look at even the Virgen, not across the street in Central, but the Virgen that Sal Barajas did.
Yeah.
And so in the past a couple of years, there's probably 8 new murals in the park, and there's still a lot of room.
Which of the old dudes, the Chicano Sauruses, are still active? Victor still gets down
still
once in a
around.
while.
And Queso lives right there next to the park, but Queso has an interesting story. But
Sal did the Virgen mural on the bathroom. He also did the Amigos mural.
Yeah,
Victor Ochoa, he wrapped up the Anastasio mural. And he's also working on a mural for Brown Image in front of the playgrounds. So he's doing the rendering right now.
Brown Image Car Club.
Brown Image Car Club.
Nice.
There's actually a tagging right there. It says Brown Image Southeast San Diego.
That's the old one, huh?
Yeah, so they're doing it right there where it belongs.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Mm-hmm. So is Chicano Park, because Johnny's a Kumeyaay. So is Chicano Park also connected to the indigenous tribes of the area in any ways? I know she said the Kumeyaay, which is...
Well, I know that the community, the steering committee, and different members have been making an effort for many years to connect with the different tribes here, and we, know there's been a lot of, we know we're on Kumeyaay land. We've always acknowledged it, but today, for the past, I don't know, I can say more than 10 years, there's been a really good relationship with different tribal members or groups, in the community. Stan Rodriguez is one of them that is from San Isabel. But the relationship, has been good. And, this area right here, they call it Cosoy.
I didn't know that.
And,
where we're at right now, too?
Where we're at.
What does that mean?
Well, that's the Kumeyaay word for this area right here in San Diego, Cosoy. This area.
But is there an underlying meaning to that?
I haven't asked that one, but that's a good.
Okay, Johnny, you got your homework.
Yeah, I know that's the whole area right here, like Old Town, the old mission, the first mission. Where is that? That's like the major village that was right here.
Mm-hmm. So this whole area is called Cosoy, and there's been a lot of teachings throughout many years in the community of just trying to acknowledge that, and there's been some of the Chicano Park Day celebrations also acknowledging that. But I think we're moving in the right direction, and the relationship is getting stronger.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. So going,
I don't know if Lucas wants to say anything about that. But.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, we've always started the Chicano Park Days with a blessing, a prayer. I know Redbird, and then they've come and done the drumming circles before. And actually, I just wanted to highlight that this year, to kick off the celebration, each day has a theme for our virtual week. The first one is the Chicano Kumeyaay connection. Because I know before there's always been this larger conversation at hand about Chicanos being indigenous and, not always being accepted as that, by our relatives. But we're trying to merge that by having this day and highlighting that. And we're opening it up with the Kumeyaay blessing as well as a Chicano blessing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back to a question that I asked earlier. What would you like to see? In the perfect world, what would your ideal barrio situation look like? Not just around Chicano Park, but Barrio Logan.
I'd like to see actual property ownership, not just like owning the space, but the actual property that it sits in.
Owned by
Chicanos, Mexicanos, people in the neighborhood. That way they have the actual right to self-determination to determine what they have in their community. Mm-hmm. And, getting the industry out, getting the shipyard out. NASCO, Dole, everyone leaving, that'd be great. Yeah. Actually able to have access to the bay like Coronado does on the opposite side of the bridge. That's always that stark contrast. You sit on our side of the pier, you can't even fish off it no more. And if you do, it's not recommended to eat it. And you look across, you see kids playing in the water, which you probably shouldn't. But still, that access that they have.
Pretty beach.
It's cleaned up, maintained, and even the bridge itself. We're under it. It leads into their community. And just being able to get that done. Of course, now with the park, that's a whole other thing, the murals. But my thing is just property ownership. That way they can do
what about in regards to businesses?
That's a difficult one. I mean, like with that, it'd be nice to have like Chicano-owned businesses of like healing centers, community art spaces, things like that. But, again, that it's in a way that's not pimping the culture either.
Yeah.
Like in a way that it gives back to the people. It goes in a way where you're supporting the community. You're not just pimping out the culture and saying, I'm going to sell this Pendleton because it makes you look Chicano and it's sick. And there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there is businesses that are doing things the right way, and there is businesses that are just, they're hanging on the threads because they don't own the property, and they're at the helm of the property owner. And these property owners sometimes can't make their business happen because it ain't Chicano or it ain't appealing to the raza here. So sometimes we have our own people kind of like doing that work that we don't like, and what I mean by that is just like eventually, since you don't own it, you're going to make it popular and you're going to get booted out as well, and they're going to bring in, once that establishment is popular, they're going to bring in something else. And that's what I'm afraid of. But, I know Lucas just hit the nail right in the head is if we don't own property, if we don't own any, we're going to just get pushed out, and we will always have a Chicano Park, fortunately. But what I would like to see is just have more people enjoy our neighborhood as it gets better. And we're not able to do that because we can't afford it. And it's not like I'm not trying to be like, oh, I don't want other people. I don't want to act and be just like the powers were at the moment. I don't want to act like, oh, you can't live here because you ain't Mexican. You can't live here because I don't want to act just and do what they did to us because that's not humane. We're not like that. But what I do would like is if people are going to be moving here, not to try to change it, to be part of it. Obviously Little Italy is blown like to smithereens. They ain't, you might get, but it's totally different. We would like to have a living culture, not a dead culture. We would like to have a living community, not a community that happened. And I want to say this because lately when I've been painting at the park, man, I've been surprised because I've had so many folks from like LA, Orange County, Pasadena, Pomona, like all these different communities up here.
Yeah.
And they're coming over here to the park, and they're coming to Logan, they're coming to the community, and they're like, we don't really have a lot of places to go to over there. We're gobbled up, like we lost it. Yeah. There's nothing there no more.
You're absolutely right, man. So, everybody loves Chicano Park.
So we're coming over because we want to feel, we want to feel this. And I'm like, how do you feel being here? And they're like, man, I feel at home. I feel like this is, and I said, well, you should feel that way because this is your home. This is our Mecca. This is our Wailing Wall. This is a place where we come that is very few that is living in Southern California, and surprised, that to see my brothers and sisters from the big city out here next to us that have, a lot of influence in this cultura, not having it anymore. Yeah. And so I'm real, so in that way I would like our people to come to the neighborhood and still feel like it's ours. It's a Chicano, Mexicano community.
Yeah. With that, I took a trip to Aslan, twice. And in my travels, it's like you said, a lot of people are losing that, and they're having to fight for it in their own barrios. And we have sister parks. So we have like La Raza Park in Denver. We have El Paso's Lincoln Park. We also have Barrios Unidos Park in Phoenix, Arizona. And we went through to those parks to see their struggles being mirrored to ours. It's a trip. Like Barrios Unidos Park, they lost a lot of their homes to an airport. And now they're just maintaining the cultural space there and trying to keep their barrio. One of the oldest barrios, like Logan, it's Cuatro Mipas, out there, and they're doing the work. It's Chicanos, Mexicanos out there that are doing that work to preserve it, while the state is buying up all the properties around the houses that once were and trying to develop in the industry. In El Paso, they're dealing with Texas, Department of Transportation, and they're under a bridge as well. They're under a freeway. And now with Interstate 10, they've lost like 20 of their murals, and they're trying to just preserve what they can. Luckily, they're able to preserve Felipe Adames' mural of the Virgen. They're able to save that one. And the La Raza part, where's the La Raza, That's the thing. They're all like, the community's changed so much, and they're doing so much work to preserve it. And I want to give them a shout out because they actually just changed the name officially this year. They've been petitioning that for years because it was Columbus Park. And it was a large, from what Bones was telling me from the Crusade, he was saying that before it was a larger Italian community for a while. And then it became Columbus Park. But when they took it over in 69, they had their swim in. In 70, then it became La Raza Park. And, us here, we recognize the La Raza Park forever. But to have that officially in that fight be done on that piece at least, that's great,
Man.
Yeah.
So being that there won't be a Chicano Park Day this year, is there anything that you want to say to the people who may have, we all are disappointed. We all, that's the shit. That's the show, the event that everybody looks forward to, counts down to, to this day, since for the last, 40 years plus, that was kind of the day that I personally look forward to as well. Is there anything that you would want to tell people that are going to miss it, obviously, but people that maybe would have attended but don't really understand too much about the park?
Well, first I'd say, it's disappointing, but stay home, because right now there's a lot of people pushing things on social media that's not true.
Yeah.
They're saying there's a car show going to happen on the 24th. And it's, yeah, it'd be nice, but it's not going to happen. In this community, like Hector pointed out, with the air quality, has, a higher chance of mortality rates with COVID. So that's why we're trying to take that step and be proactive and say, we're not going to have Chicano Park Day this year for our community's concern.
Right.
It's disappointing, but I just ask, one, everybody do their part and stay home. You can view the park throughout the year. The history is there within the murals. If you want more information, we'll be doing a virtual week where we'll be sharing on different topics throughout the week. That way people get plugged in, and those who may not know the history of the park can come learn a little bit more and then know where to get plugged in the right way. It's disappointing, but our community's health is first. And, it's like we were talking about earlier, we have to protect it. It's our responsibility as, as the different orgs, the gatekeepers of the community, Chicano Park Steering Committee, the planning groups, the BLA, the Brown Berets, all these organizations that work together, we have to just do that. And it's not like we don't want to, but the good thing is once next year, if it lifts up a little more, we can have a badass 52nd.
Oh, shit. Imagine what that's going to be like.
Yeah.
We had the guys from Amigos in here a couple weeks back, and we discussed Chicano Park Day, and then we had the dudes from Click in here too, and it's all, that's the show, not just for San Diego, but now LA, everybody, once the talk starts going out, Chicano Park Day every year, my phone starts blowing up. Hey, Holmes, can you get me in? Do you know what? I know you got to have an in, bro. Like, can you get my car in? Hey, no, I got like 8, dude, come on, man. I just, that's one of those days where you just got to look out for yourself and get in there. 'Cause it is one of the most, I guess, popular, toughest shows to get into, but also it's kind of like, you get bragging rights when you're shown inside Chicano Park.
It's like Comic-Con, man.
Yeah.
People there at midnight, once you put the application up, we get filled out in a day.
It's good shit. How about you, Hector?
Well, Chicano Park?
Well, just, what you think people should know? Like, because like I said, the amount of people, the crowd has, dude, we've seen it, 10 times what it was 10 years ago? Probably, right? At least 10 times. A lot of these people, they have a great time, and that's a beautiful thing. They're going to Chicano Park, they're experiencing it, but there may be some things that they should know.
Yeah. A lot of the businesses, they can't wait for it either. They get ready. They stock up because they sell everything, man.
Right.
But, I feel that, I want to celebrate. I feel like I want to celebrate. Like it's it's just more than a celebration. It's just part of my DNA now. It's just, growing up.
Well, we'll find a way, Hector. I'll meet you down there.
It's just like, because
we'll go grab
it's
a
a
beer
trip,
somewhere.
Bobby. I remember every Chicano Park Day morning, you hear,
it's funny we said that. We were talking about that's viejitos when those dudes show up.
That means it's time for me to wake up and get over there quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There you go. You're the alarm clock, Johnny.
But that's always like, oh man, and
Dude,
then you just start this feeling that is bigger than anything that I'm ever gonna be able to describe is just there. There's this feeling.
That's exactly what we
Insane.
talked about with the. Was it Click? It was a Clickers or
It was
Amigos.
Click.
So how exactly what you said?
Yeah.
The morning of,
Yeah.
probably I'm gonna say between 7 and 8:30 is the golden.
Yeah, there's this,
and you're walking around and you see people that you ain't seen all year, but it's like you saw them yesterday, and it's like everybody's happy.
Yeah.
The vibe,
Yeah.
you hear somebody bumping some real cool music, always out of their ride. You walk around, you're checking out the cars. There's not too many people there. The right people are there. People are setting up booths. You could start to smell some of the vendors cooking food. And then the viejitos show up with the sirens, and you know it's on.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And at one point, when I started getting more involved with the committee, I was there and, I was setting up my booth and stuff. And I forgot one of the members told me, happy birthday or happy new year. Like, this is like the Chicano, this is like,
The Chicano Chinese New Year's.
Yeah, it's like a birthday too. We're celebrating this life, this vida that was given to just like all of us land. Like, this is the only little piece of land that we have, that we're able to, take our ancestors take over. But so it's amazing. Our history books are, just like you said, you see all these people and you know what I like? I like even seeing like the younger kids that ain't even cholos or don't dress, but like for that day they come decked out. They're like their dad's in the car club or something like that. They're just regular kids, but that day they fucking come, looking really sharp, man. For that day, everybody gets really dressed up. But some of the most beautiful people you're gonna see in your life.
And you know what? And 99% of it is a good time.
Yeah.
It's always peaceful. And for that amount of people, like, I don't know, man. Do you know what the number is, Lucas, for the last one? Did you get? There's no way to count people.
There's over 10,000 people there.
Easily over 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And the vibe and just the peacefulness of it.
Yeah.
I don't care who you get together, any race, and if you got that many people, there's going to be a few little incidences here and there. That's just human nature.
Yeah.
That's just how shit always goes down. But I think Chicano Park has a better percentage than any other crowd may have, because it's also the day that people are looking out for each other. Like, hey, not right here, bro. Like that doesn't happen here today. Or take that someplace else, or people just, it's just the camaraderie. But I'll go back to that golden hour again, because I felt that, dude. Exactly what you said, we've talked about before. And there's something about that morning that is like magical, for lack of a better word. Like, you just feel some shit in the air, and it's the whole, then the colors, the murals, the sun's coming up.
We talked about that. It's the same thing. Like for car guys, it was the big three at the stadium and Chicano Park Day. Like that's what we make ourselves go to. And the early hours before the crowd show up, we walk around and we get to talk to everyone. Like Bobby said, we haven't seen these people in a long time, like all year, and then it's like nothing. And I think it has to do with, like you guys mentioned, like that's the heart, right? Yeah. That's where our energy goes. All our energy is intertwined in that morning, and we feel good that we belong. We're there together. We're there to celebrate life and have a good time. And then and then the day goes forward and everyone has a good time, and then we know next year it's going to be the same thing.
And nobody really wants to go home. They're like, people want to Chicano Park at night.
Last year they had to go look for me. They were like, because my car and I don't know who else's car was still parked there. They had to move it off the street. They couldn't find me. I was somewhere, I don't know where I was. I think it was at the Majestic's house or up someplace. Like they had to come and find me. Hey, you got to move your car. You got to move your car. I'm like, what? It's only 3:30 or something. But always a good time. But man, you guys very well spoken, and I'm really proud that you guys came and you guys just, man, thank you for everything you do for the community, for Chicano Park, for Chicanos, to keep the park, colorful and just alive and well. And like I said, I know there's still a lot of work that you guys do continuously, and a lot of people don't understand what's underlying to this beautiful park and what it takes to maintain its, not just its image, but the integrity, the strength, the reputation, and just, everything that the park stands for. And I'm really looking forward to the museum. And as we all are, I had the opportunity. I met with Josie a couple years ago, and she was just going to keep me in the loop. So hopefully we're getting closer, and I'll try to get involved as much as I can and do some things there as well. And if there's anything that that I could help with, but I want you guys to know too that this is your platform. If there's anything that's on your mind, anything you dudes feel like saying, any events, anything you guys want to speak on, you're always welcome here. Just hit myself up or Johnny. But thanks again. And
I appreciate it. I just want to say something really, really quick, and we kind of,
you don't have to say it quick. You can say it slow.
We kind of danced around it. We talked a little bit about it, but like I know the work that Lucas does in the park is just more than that. There's a lot more stuff that is being done. And just like for me, I was teaching for 4 years in the community, and that was an honor for me to be able to be a teacher in my own barrio with the kids and teaching them, Chicano art and all this kinds of stuff. But man, we're under attack all day, every day from multi-billion-dollar corporations, multi-million-dollar corporations, from just the city in general.
Attack how?
Just because our community is so desirable. It's just people are moving in and just putting barrio on anything. And they're just, and then they're also moving in and saying that they're in downtown. They want to be in the barrio, but they don't want to call it the barrio. Like, so the thing is like, we're under attack because our neighborhood could just be just a name, It could just be used as a name anymore. Ain't no raza or no nothing. So what I'm saying is that, like, every day, just on the Barrio Logan planning group, on the, all these meetings that we have, all these little stuff that we have, and it's not a big number of people. It's just, we're trying to hold on. Like I'm saying, it's just like, what people don't see is that, like, there's other forces that we deal with on the daily that are, like, trying to erase that.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Like, when I was kind of asking that question, like, what should people know?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, shit, like,
we don't get no support from the city. The city is the worst. Is the worst at trying to support. And we're a California cultural district. Okay, we're one of the 14 most popular communities in the whole state of California. We're a destination in California. Everybody, Chicano Park is a destination. Like, they want to use it. People want to use it, but we're not getting the support. Like, we don't have no mural funding. We don't have any money coming from the state, any money coming from the city. They're not
nothing federal.
No, they're not like being like, hey, what you guys are doing is, like, shit. We gotta, like, it's just so when you have that, and then you have them side with the multi-billion-dollar corporations, you got them siding with, it's just very hard to stay afloat. But, I think Barrio Logan, the community of Logan Heights, and the leaders, the leadership, the people that are doing work, people that live there, people that don't live there, it's been it's a constant struggle, and then you got just other people that just don't understand nothing. They don't even, like, we ask people, like, not to be on the kiosco and do stuff, and people don't give a damn. They're like, this is a public park. So we're still dealing with, like, a lot of ignorant people that don't know what it took to have that park there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think, too, what you said is interesting, like how we don't have that support. It's highlighted with us being the 14th most popular community, but also a promise zone.
A what?
A promise zone. Because of the unemployment rates and just the poverty within the area, we're considered one of the promise zones in
What is
California.
a promise zone?
Well, it gives corporations and people with money opportunity to buy them.
Yeah. It's one of the ways that the federal government designates communities that are impoverished or, low, based on unemployment rates, based on, just the conditions of it.
There is some small funding for community little projects. But
Yeah.
And then the bigger issue, too, is who's getting that money and who's facilitating those projects and how are those projects going in the community.
Well, no. I think, Lucas, besides the promise zone, the opportunity zone.
Yeah. I've heard of the opportunity zone.
The promise zone is one of them. The opportunity zone is that allows the people with money for opportunities. Here's some cheap property. Come and get it. We'll give you breaks, tax breaks, all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Own it for 10 years and you don't have to pay these taxes, and then sell it, and sell it for more and whatever. So there's the opportunity zone for business, for people. There's the, you said the promise zone that supposedly for nonprofits and for community, to better the community. You got the California Cultural District. You have, you have the designation of the park. You have all these accolades, all these things, but also some that are not pro for the community, giving opportunities to developers. So there's all these things that are happening right before our eyes. And if we don't, we're going to have to stand up for it one day.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So I've heard of the opportunity zone. I'm kind of familiar with it. Let's say there's an old industrial building, for example, however old, or it's an area that's not, maybe it's not real close to the park, but something that's available. And somebody buys that building. And then in 10 years, they sell it to build housing. Are they required to build low income housing or a certain type of housing, or can they build whatever they want? Are there stipulations to say, okay, well, if you go into the opportunity zone, does the city, state, or federal government require them to build a certain type of housing?
I don't know based on the opportunity zone, but I know that there's not like a set standard for affordable. There is incentives to have affordable housing because you'll get, I think it's cheaper for you to build it up more.
Yeah.
Like you get more density. It's a density bonus. So you can build higher, but I don't know of anything that will actually.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
10%. You have to own, I think right now it's like 10%. Okay. Yes. Affordable housing, if you're going to build some, and then
so they don't pay capital gains tax when they sell it in 10 years. So I think the way it works is they can buy it, develop it, sell it. So let's say they buy it for $1 million. In 10 years, they develop it, they sell it for $10 million. Their gain was $9 million or 8, 7, whatever, depending on how much the build cost them. So whatever their capital gains is, they pay no tax on that. But at the same time, I don't know if they're trying to, and this is where you guys can help me too, because I don't understand it completely. Are they trying to make these neighborhoods better by offering? That's why I'm asking if they're required to build a certain type of housing. Is it for the better of the neighborhood, or what does it do to the neighborhood? You see what I'm saying? Like if they're affordable housing and you have to apply, and it's kind of like the Mercado apartments, maybe it's something like that.
It is good, but there's developers that are not trying to do that because unless it's something that is state funded or program or something.
I find it hard to grasp.
But they what right now the community is asking for is 30% affordable housing if you're gonna build in the neighborhood. The interesting things about the properties here in the community is that they have an alley, and then they have a big old backyard. So what happens, a lot of people are buying these properties and then building all these granny flats and all this stuff. And so they're more density, but also they are buying these big warehouses. and they're cutting them up and they're doing all this stuff, and there's already projects in place, some on commercial.
Yeah.
They are gonna, go up, and they are gonna do all that kind of stuff. And they're not required to build affordable housing. They're not required. But if they want to build like so many stories and do this and do that, then yeah, okay, then now they need to do those kinds of 10%. It's kind of a tricky. I wish that
I don't understand it.
I wish that I
knew
more about that, because that is the game, is the property game.
Yeah, I see what you're saying though. How there's ways that it could potentially benefit the community, but there's also ways where it could damage the community depending on the type of housing that's being built. So there's something else that I wanted to touch on real quick. Is I know we discussed that there's a lack of funding, that the city doesn't fund, state doesn't fund. It is a national historical park, and that to me sounds really hard to believe, is that there's no national funding for the park. So with that being said, if people wanted to contribute or donate monetarily or send money to help the Chicano Park Fund, how could they do that? Or is there an Instagram? Is there a website or someplace they could go to donate to Chicano Park?
Yeah.
Or the museum?
They can go to either ChicanoParkMuseum.org, or I think they also have .com. Our Instagram for Chicano Park is at Chicano Park_official. We're at Chicano Park Steering Committee on Facebook if they want to reach out to us in order to donate. So the museum, if they want to donate for the park, I would donate to the museum and just add that as the memo is for the park, because the Chicano Park Steering Committee, we're not an actual nonprofit. We are recognized by the state and have a state ID, but we're not a nonprofit ourselves. So the museum will serve as the nonprofit for the steering committee. And that's so we don't have those restrictions in place at all. And we're free to say what we want. We're free to act how we'd like. And, maintain that autonomy that the steering committee is based in, and be actual stewards of the park, not stewards with these other policies that we'd have to adhere to. But if they want to donate, that'd be the best way. We also take donations because we're doing a lunch program at the park. Right now, we're doing it every other Saturday. Before, it was every Saturday, where we make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, sack lunches for the community. We primarily target kids, but it's for anybody. If someone's hungry, we're not going to say no. We've had people going to work, take a lunch. We've had kids come and get a lunch. So that's great. We also do ongoing cleanups in the park. We've been facilitating those, in the last couple of months.
And who pays for these?
Either the steering committee, myself out of pocket.
Private donation.
And private donations from people. We
you
have
guys
people,
do it out of your pockets,
too. Yeah, and that's how we maintain our autonomy. If someone wants to donate, we'll take it. We have had people donate, which is great. But we do it out of pocket. Like Hector, he'll pay for paint too. Other artists will pay for paint and go touch up murals if it needs it.
Yeah, I was just talking to him about it. He says he's funding that mural he's doing himself.
Mm-hmm. Everything in the park is volunteer.
And I was like, what? Like, I thought that a lot of the muralists, there were budgets to but that was where I was mistaken. Is I had assumed that, being that it's it's a city park, for one, for two, it's got the credentials that it has, the recognition, the national recognition, the state recognition, the local recognition, that there would be some, and it is, like you said, one of the primary destinations for people, especially people of Chicanos or Mexicanos, or just people with curiosity coming to check out the park.
It's the Mecca.
It is our Mecca, but also, people checking out the park. So you would imagine that the city of San Diego go, wait a second, this is a tourist attraction. We need to throw some money at it, or help them maintain this park, or get the grass greener, and, make it a little more whatever they need. But, I know that there's also been, like you said, and you're back in the building, and I don't remember exactly what the struggle was, but that building that is, right, the building that is pretty much inside Chicano Park was not occupied by Chicano Park. And now that you guys got it back, that's where the museum will be. And I know there's going to be, you guys are building it out and changing some things and stuff like that. So I know that's going to take some money as well. For
the history of that building, it'll actually be shared during the virtual week. It's going to be on the actual takeover day, April 22nd. Josie will talk about the history of the building. That building, it was supposed to be the Highway Patrol substation. Then it became offices for Chicano Park, and as well as the Chicano Federation. When the Federation moved out, it was Chicano Park Steering Committee that operated that building. When we couldn't actually keep it up, we offered it, but it would be with the caveat that it'd have to be a school. So then here comes Cesar Chavez Continuing Education. Once they've outgrown that building, they moved to the larger area they have now, and now it's under Parks and Rec. So it's Chicano Park Museum. I think we have a contract with Parks and Rec and the city of San Diego to have the ownership of that building now. But as far as like the funding, we do it ourselves, and it's been that way for years, and I think that's where a lot of the pride and the ownership come in for the community. Because like what Hector was mentioning earlier, like we have people that go and disrespect the kiosko, disrespect the park, and that's where the community comes in. Everybody knows people do the work, and it's not just the steering committee. We have people in the community that take their own time to clean the park. We have someone like Gabby that's in the cactus garden, maintaining it, cleaning throughout the park. We have people like Lydia.
What happened to El Tio?
He actually got sick.
Did he? Is he still alive? Is he okay? Or
I'm not too sure.
Because he was always there. He took care of the roses, right?
Yeah, he took care of the roses, and he'd sweep around the kiosk.
Yeah, he was always there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's that type of community ownership that we all have that make the park special. Mm-hmm. It does become difficult at times for like mural restoration or maintaining murals or creation of new murals. And I know for artists having to fundraise and manage it in that way, it's a little difficult. The only time we've ever had a real budget is when we had the restoration. Well, that was through Caltrans. We got a T grant, so we got, I can't remember how many millions of dollars, but we were able to restore 13 other murals in the park, which are where a lot of artists that are painting in the park now were able to come in through working on those murals, and then from there doing their own murals. But going forward, the only thing I know of right now is that Juan Vargas is working on a bill so that Chicano Park can actually receive funding through the federal government, through the National Park Services. But that's not even in place yet. I know Josie's been working on that. She went out to Washington to speak about it, but that's still up in the air too.
So are there any local leaders that some of these people listening might be able to like poke at to help out?
Yeah, Josephine Talamantes is one for sure. Tommy Camarillo, she always could use help. So the steering committee in general, we have a lot of members there. And just locally, there's different orgs that people could get involved in that have been doing the work in the community. Unión de Barrio, Environmental Health Coalition, or some Brown Beret National Organization, Brown Berets de Aslan, San Diego. There's just many groups, because that's what makes the steering committee so special, is it's a coalition of groups. It's not just steering committee.
Well, I know that District 8, where the park is at, doesn't have like a little fund from their budget to go into the park. That's a politician that is out there. Whoever takes that seat, I know there's no like formal like budget for the park. I don't know if they could or not, but we lately have had different people moving in, like Nora Vargas. She's a county supervisor. I don't know if there's like these different people that are in place that we might be able to get some type of help. If we position ourselves right in certain situations, we might get the help that we need, but we're still, I think that, there's nothing in place.
Yeah. And with that, I think there needs to be that respect though. Cause I know with Nora, we're supposed to meet with her, but she hasn't said anything because we told her no to a press conference. Because we're tired of politicians pimping out the park. And when we spoke, she wanted to use it. We were like, well, can you tell us what you've done for us? And and historically the county
she wanted to use it for one of her press conferences.
Press conference. Yeah. A lot of politicians use it for press conferences. Yeah. And they don't take a nice picture. They have the murals in the background. It looks great. And then they don't do nothing about it. Right. They don't come back and help. And, from there, we haven't heard anything back. So if we can have a meeting, that'd be great. Because if you want to meet with us, but there has to be that level of respect that, you're in a position. But the committee has been the ones doing the work for 50 years and the community around it. So if we have what we'd like, we have a vision that needs to be respected.
Cool. Is there anything else you guys want to say? Or anything else that you'd want to talk about? Or
I'm just gonna try my best to try to stay, living in the neighborhood, man. It's not easy. I'm hoping it gets better. I have my family, my 2 girls. I'm not gonna try to take those millions of dollars to move myself out of there. I don't know, man. But I'm just look forward to trying to do whatever I can to stay involved in the community. I do a lot of work for free. I'm part of 4 boards, and I don't get paid for one of them. And so I'm losing time with my kids. I'm losing time with different things. But I'm hoping that the work that I'm doing will reflect later and help my kids have a better upbringing in the community, have still a sense of community and culture there. But, I'm just glad that I'm able to survive the barrio, first of all. And
so far, so good, right?
Yeah, it's been a tough one, but I'm just happy to be alive, and whatever I can do, I appreciate you guys giving me an opportunity to speak and share, and gracias to Cruz for a lot of the the work that we've done and the work that's still out there that we need to do, and that we can keep level-headed and just try to just push forward.
Me, what I'd like to share is, when you were asking earlier about, like, what do we tell people at home about the park, is what makes the park special is what it represents, So when you look at the park, we have a statue of Zapata. And Zapata always said the land belongs to those who work it. La tierra mía. The land is ours. Get involved. That's what I want people to take away from this. Get involved in your own capacity, whether it's in your own barrio, if there's something going on, you have the right to self-determination as a human being to determine what goes on in your community. So get involved in that sense. Here locally in Logan, we adhere to that in the park. We adhere to that in the community. That's why we have people that are giving up their lives, stepping away from their children. And what makes it special is it is the mothers, it is the fathers, it is the people that get off the late shift to come and fight for the community and make it what it is and preserve what we have and what is ours. Because this is throughout Aztlán. When I say Aztlán, it's where we are, and we take it back to, Mother Earth, the land that we're on. Because when we look at Aztlán, it's not just the Adams-O'Neese Treaty border. It's not just the Southwest. Aztlán could be anywhere. You can make it where it is and where you're at and make that difference in your community. And I just want to encourage people, like, right now is the time to get involved. When we talk about going back to normal, what was normal for us before? What was normal? Getting beat by the police, having to still fight for clean air in the community. Now we're dealing with a respiratory disease. Disease has affected our people since the beginning when Columbus landed here. So it's time for us to keep just getting involved, getting connected with different organizations, not reinventing the wheel, and unifying under a front. That's what I'd like people to get, from what we're talking about today. Because the park, if you can't celebrate it, you can celebrate it at home. You can celebrate it by taking upon an activist route in your own community. Because that's what the park is. It's activism. All this culture comes from that fight. And it's just maintaining that and keeping it going.
Right on, man. This was I really enjoyed the show. I learned a lot, I'll tell you, and you guys do have a lot of knowledge and regarding the park in Barrio Logan. I think it's important for people to understand that, and thank you so much for sharing.
Appreciate it.
And we appreciate you guys. Johnny, you have anything to say?
No, just much respect to you guys for doing what you do for the community. And you guys might not know it, but the result of Chicano Park, not only the work that you did, but the people that came before you, have created millions of memories worldwide. And that what you guys are doing and the labor that you put into it isn't for nothing. It extends beyond the borders that we all know right here.
All right, brothers. Thank you for being on the Lord Left podcast here in San Diego, California.
That's right.
This was a good one. Chicano Park. Viva Chicano Park.
Que viva.
Que viva.
Lord Left podcast. We're out.
Thank you both.